I was reconnecting with some friends over the summer, and we were sitting in their living room catching up, and all of a sudden it hit us. The 2-year-old and the 4-year-old were mysteriously quiet. That's never a good sign. Soon enough, they appeared, both their faces covered in mascara. Mom had a very natural question, which was, were you perhaps playing with Mommy's makeup? No. Are you sure? Yes. Are you really sure? Of course. Mom was gentle and merciful and played along just fine. But friends, I wonder if that encounter where we are so convinced we're doing it just fine, not being aware of just how obvious it is that perhaps we're not, I wonder if that's what our encounter with God looks like on a pretty regular basis. We've been taught from a very early age to put our best effort into trying to present the very best version of ourselves to the world around us. We're told to dress for success. We're told that we want others to notice and see and acknowledge our success, our talents, our intellects. And so we work hard. We work hard to achieve good grades. We work hard to be successful. We work hard to cultivate our talents at painting or drawing or playing the piano or cooking or whatever it is. We polish our CVs with great care. We curate the image of ourselves we present to the public on Instagram with great carefulness. All of it meant to seek to convince others that we've got it all put together. It's not that that desire is inherently wrong, but sometimes we get in trouble when we believe our own narrative. That we believe we're as put together as we want the rest of the world to think we are. And that's where today's virtue of humility, the one spoken about in all three of our readings, plays an integral role in our success as Christians and human beings. Humility is not a denial of our talents. It's not a denial of our successes. It's certainly not a denial of the many gifts and blessings that God has given us. Rather, humility is the simple acknowledgement that God always sees us for who we truly are. That there's never a need to pretend we're someone else in front of God, because that effort is always futile. Because the one who loved us into being and who created us and who redeemed us on the cross, he is always capable of seeing right into our very heart, of seeing the true and genuine version of ourselves, of seeing right past the facade we'd like to build at times, so that he might see and love the fullness of who we are, even those moments that are not as polished, even those elements of our life that are not as Instagram worthy. And friends, that's really the good news of today. That's the good news that the virtue of humility fosters in us, that God always loves us, that he always loves us no matter what or where we might find ourselves. No matter how uncurated our life might be in a particular moment, no matter how messy or dirty we might find ourselves, that even in those moments, we know and are assured of the Lord's boundless love and generosity. It's our humility. It's our humility that grants us the freedom to be our complete and total selves in the presence of our God. to trust in his goodness, to trust in his boundless love, to trust in his mercy and compassion, so much so that we can always be the fullness of who we are before him. That we can always lay ourselves bare in front of him in our struggles, in our worries, in our anxieties. Trusting that he will draw those things to himself and help us journey through them with the goodness of his grace. Friends, our humility opens our hearts so that we might follow and receive the fullness of God's love, and that we might share God's love with those around us. It's only because we're able to humbly place ourselves before the Lord that we're able to imitate his life and his sacrifice, that we're able to understand and to share the reality that our truest glory and fullest joy comes not in the admiration and esteem of others, not in our professional accomplishments, not in our GPA, but through the gift of life that God has created us with. Through the very fact that we are loved by him. Loved so much that he was willing to sacrifice his life on the cross for our salvation. It's our trust in that mystery and our willingness to accept that mystery that then allows us to imitate the Lord in that mystery by seeing ourselves not as objects to be served, but as people of service, as people who seek to imitate the life of Christ and placing ourselves at the service of those around us, at the service of those who might be struggling a little bit more than us, at the service of those who lack the same amount of resources or blessings or gifts. It's that self-sacrificial love, that willingness to give of self for another so that others may thrive. That's what allows us to dwell in the fullness of God's love and to share in the fullness of his joy, the fullness of his victory. So perhaps what the Lord invites us to at Mass this morning is to humbly place ourselves before the love he offers us in the Eucharist. To be willing to lay ourselves bare. To be honest with those things we might be struggling with so that we might receive the fullness of all that he offers us this day in his body and blood and soul and divinity. And in response to that gift, to be thoughtful about how it is we're seeking to share the love we receive here. How we might be using our gifts, our talents, our Instagram-worthy lives to aid those who are having perhaps a bit more difficult time. To be a little bit more attentive to that kid in the dorm that seems not to have any friends yet. To notice that kid who sits alone at the dining hall every lunch. To see that friend who perhaps is trying to put on a good face, but you know deep down inside is struggling with something. To resolve an old hurt, to be charitable to someone who's been being difficult, whatever it might be. How is God inviting us to participate in his love this day so that we might build up his kingdom and march onwards together towards heaven?